What is happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Mile High on Broad podcast. Continuation on our selfish discussions on our own teams. This time around, we're going to be talking about the Denver Broncos. Mike's going to be taking control for this show. He's going to be running through the free agents upcoming for the Broncos. I'm going to let you know how I feel about each and every one of them. Keep them, cut them. What am I going to do as the GM of the Broncos with these guys that we're set to walk? And then those are you guys that were in for last time's show. We got a special curveball. I'm going to name some guys I want us to chase after. So, Mike, reins are yours. Take us away.
First off, I'd like to issue an apology for last episode to Brett Toth. I got you mixed up with somebody named Josh Sill. My fault. My bad. You're a good guy. My fault. So hopefully you don't hate me. We'll move on from there. All right, cool. So moving into the Broncos free agents, you guys have a couple more free agents than we do. We went over 21 names for the Philadelphia Eagles. You guys are looking at about 24 names. So I know a lot of ours were starters, so I don't know how your list is going to break down. I don't know too many of these names, so they may or may not be starters, but that's, I guess, why you're the expert here. So we'll get your expert opinion on this, and we're going to start off the list with someone by the name of Calvin Anderson. Tell me a little bit about Calvin.
Calvin Anderson. Yeah, look, here, first thing I want to say is when you have an Eagles roster that just came out of the Super Bowl, you're going to be full of a lot of starters. When you have a Broncos team that won 5 games last year, you're full of a bunch of team that could be starters but are not starters in the real world. So these names might be starters. They probably won't. Calvin Anderson's a prime example. This is a right tackle who I think may have started a game. I don't know. I feel like every year we have a bunch of right tackles and none of them are any good. They're all just a bunch of like older random dudes. Calvin Anderson to me is that he's a dude. I'm not going to bring him back. He doesn't do anything special. If I'm bringing back a right tackle, it's not going to be him. It's going to be somebody who's actually going to anchor the line, not another swing piece to, roll in there and hope he doesn't forget how to block somebody. So Calvin Anderson can walk.
Sounds like you have a lot of faith in somebody that you're saying that you're hoping doesn't forget how to block. Which
yeah, I mean, at this point,
probably the biggest thing to do when you're an offensive lineman. So a lot of high praise there for you, Calvin. Big fan of the show. From there, we're moving on to Billy Turner. This is another one of your guys' tackles. I do know this name.
Yeah, here we go. Another one of these right tackles we brought in. Look, we brought in Billy Turner. He was a Bronco, went to the Packers, came back. He was supposed to be the starter last year. He was hurt, then he was back, then he was hurt, then he was back, and he's going to be gone. I'm not bringing this guy back. He was brought in to prove that he could be our right tackle for the next few years. He proved he cannot be the right tackle for the next few years. I don't have time to sit around and wait and see if a guy is going to be healthy enough to start at right tackle. It's too important of a position. I'm going to go find somebody else.
All right, fair enough. Sounds like quick and easy so far. Billy and Calvin, you're both gone. From there, we're moving on to somebody I've never heard of. His name is Tom Compton. And no, that is not Compton, the dangerous city. It is Compton, Compton. Tell me about Tom, who I've never heard of.
Yeah, not going to be on the team any longer. I can tell you that.
Nice.
This is he's another backup lineman. I mean, I don't even know if he's probably another tackle at the right tackle would be my guess. Like all I know is the offensive line was arguably one of the worst in the NFL for the Broncos. So if you are a backup to a backup on the worst line in football, you're not going to have a job anymore. So bye-bye.
Is that like the enemy of my enemy is my friend? Like,
except he's like the enemy of my enemy of my enemy, and he's just then I forget that he exists.
He's just not good. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, Tom. You're the second most valuable Compton on this show that we've mentioned today. From there, moving on to Kareem the Dream Jackson. I do know Kareem Jackson. Safeties. What are you doing with Kareem? He's a little bit older. What do you want to do with him?
Yeah. So Kareem Jackson. I mean, we let him walk last year. We bring him back. On a pretty team friendly deal. I mean, he's an older guy, right? He doesn't have same juice he used to. He's not going to pull the same kind of contract he was before. I bring Kareem Jackson back, and I do it for the reason as he's just a phenomenal locker room guy. We have massive issues in this locker room when it comes to a culture, right? And we have to rebuild a winning culture in this locker room after the last 7 years of abysmal crap that has been put on the field. But new ownership, Sean Payton's in town. Like the idea is to rebuild this team, rebuild a new culture, that's about winning. This is a great veteran guy who puts in work, and I bring him back solely on the fact that he might not play every single game. He's getting up there. He might be more of a swing guy, but for his impact on a locker room alone, I'm going to bring him back to be a culture piece that I build around.
Nice. I like it. I agree with a lot of that. Quick question on Kareem Jackson. Was he around for the Super Bowl run with Peyton, or did he come around after that?
He came around after that.
Okay.
Yeah, he came out after that. They brought him up from the Texans. But yeah, he came around after that. He's been with us for a few years now, but it was definitely after
Yeah.
the Peyton ring eras.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah. Kareem Jackson's a good guy. I like him. So cool. We're bringing Kareem Jackson back. From there, we're moving on to definitely the second most important Mike we're going to talk about today. Mike Boone, running back.
You
Mike
know,
Boone.
I think I'm gonna let Mike Boone walk. For
Fair.
a couple of reasons. One, he was hurt last year. He hasn't done a ton on the field. Really, I think George Payton brought this dude in because of his Minnesota ties. He's a guy who can play on special teams. Maybe he gets some shots as a rotational guy in the backfield. He's just never really shown that he can do it. And honestly, if I'm bringing a running back, I'd rather let him walk in free agency and test what's out there. There's so many running backs in free agency that I can go after. A guy like Mike Boone is just not a priority for me to put any type of time or focus in. So if we get to, a month before the season, he's floating around at, working at the grocery store, and I need a special teams guy, maybe I pick up the phone, but he's not a guy I'm prioritizing for any reason.
All right, fair enough. Letting Mike Boone walk, especially considering running back is considered one of the most disposable and easy to find positions in the league. So makes sense. Bye-bye, Mike Boone. From there, we're moving on to another lineman, Dalton Reisner. I do know this name. I know he's one of your guards. So talk to me about Dalton Reisner. What are you doing with him?
Starting left guard for the Broncos. We got to rebuild the line. He was hurt a little bit last year. He's been an okay piece. I feel like he's regressed a little bit the last couple of years. Like, he's a Colorado native.
Okay. His hometown favorite, probably?
Yeah, the guy, he was a Broncos fan growing up. He plays for his hometown team. I'm not going to pay him what he wants to get paid. We talked last week about, your guard who's going to want to go out and get paid.
Yep.
This guy's going to want to make big money. It's a premium position in the NFL. Some team out there is going to pay this guy a lot more than I would be willing to give him in a contract, because where I think he is an okay to a good guard, I don't think he is an elite guard that I'm willing to overpay to keep around, or that he's special enough to be that dude. For the amount of money he's going to want, he's clearly shown that he doesn't want to give the team any type of a team-friendly deal to hang around. I think I let him walk. Go get your payday. I'm not going to give it to you. And if that's what you're chasing, which is what it seems like, somebody else is going to give it to you, and it's not going to be me. So, Dalton Reisner, Colorado native, is not going to be a Colorado anymore, because I'm not going to overpay that dude. I'm not giving him, $15-20 million a year for the guy that he is.
Fair enough. So sounds like he's a decent guy that you maybe could bring back on a decent deal, but he's not asking for a deal.
He's a solid guard, but I think he's going to be one of the top guards, if not the top guard in free agency. And for the amount of money that he's going to command on the market, I'm not willing to go anywhere near that number. It's not even like, a little bit of team friendly. It'd have to be a really team friendly deal to come back to his hometown team before I'd even consider, handing him something in ink to sign. So I think for that, it's just going to be, he's going to price himself out of it, and I'm not willing to sit there and play the game. So I'm going to let him walk, not because I don't think he's a good guy. A lot of these guys we talked to about so far, they're whatever dudes. To me, he's a good player. He's not a great player, and I'm just not going to be willing to pay him what he's going to get paid. So
fair enough. Cool. All right. From there, we're moving on to the immortal Eric Tomlinson.
Eric Tomlinson. We got a bunch of tight ends on this list. I already know that's coming up.
He is a tight end, yes.
Yeah, I think I let him walk. He's a great blocking tight end. That's really all he's good for. I think he has one touchdown, which he caught with us this year, as his first touchdown. I think when we signed him 2 years ago, I think he had like a grand total of 8 catches in his entire NFL career. He's the definition of a blocking tight end. I don't know how he's going to fit in this new scheme with Sean Payton. I just don't think he's a piece I'm going to advocate for having to bring back. Again, maybe like a guy if he's floating around there later. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be a huge thing, and Sean decides it's a good fit. We revisit that later. But when it comes time to getting contracts done or letting people test the market, I'm probably letting him walk.
Yeah. Plus, I think you guys have Albert O and Greg Dolch.
Greg Dulcich, we got Alberto, we got I think there's at least two or three other tight end names on here. We'll discuss. There's one of them for sure. I'm going to want to bring back that I think can easily do what Tomlinson's going to do and some more. So
Yeah, fair enough. Teams don't need to have 5 tight ends on their roster. So sorry, Eric, I'm one of those cap casualty guys. From there, moving on to Cameron Fleming. Again, I actually do know this name, but go ahead, talk to Cameron Fleming.
Yeah, he's like the first 6 names that we talked about. He's another right tackle who can't stay healthy, can't prove that he should be a starter, and has just been a rotational with all the other. Literally at the point, like I couldn't tell you from week in to week out which one of those 4 guys actually started at right tackle for us every week, but it was one of them, and they all played about the same when they were in there, which was very whatever. So no, he's not coming back.
All right, short and simple. Cam Fleming, you are not coming back to the Broncos under Ben Payton. Is that George Payton? So we'll go under Ben Payton's law. You're gone. All right, cool.
It's all about the Paytons.
All about the Paytons. All right, moving on to Andrew Beck. Talk to me about your fullback. What do you want to do with your fullback?
Yeah, so this guy I'm bringing back, Andrew Beck. He's a tight end, converted fullback. He does it all. Actually, some of the best plays we had last year were Andrew Beck plays, whether he was the lead blocker, whether he was receiving out of the backfield, out of the tight end spot. So when I'm talking about getting rid of a guy like Tomlinson, this is a guy I'm definitely bringing back. I don't think he's going to command a huge paycheck from us. And for a guy that's as versatile as he is, where he can be a blocker, he can be a fullback, he can play tight end, he can play in the line, out of the line. Like this is a guy who's I want to bring back just for the sake of his versatility. And what he showed last year was he could play all over, he could get the job done, and he can allow the team to create some of those bigger plays. And if we're going to go to more of a true West Coast style, I want that kind of guy somewhere on my line on the field.
Nice. So you're gonna be one of like 4 teams with a fullback next year under your system. Sweet, love it. Yep. Old school run the ball. I'm not opposed to it. All right, moving on. We have another tight end, Eric Saubert. Saubert. All right. Hey, whatever. Talk to me about Eric Saubert. What are you doing with him?
He's a solid tight end. I don't think he's anything special. When I approach my free agency, I don't know, maybe I played too much Madden when I was younger, but to me, if you're not a key piece of my team, I'm not going out of my way to bring you back to my team. Doesn't mean I have a problem with you, putting on the blue and orange again, but Saubert's that guy. I mean, he's a decent tight end, but he's not special athletically. He's not a special blocker. I mean, he's a solid football player, no more, no less. And to me, when I got other guys on my roster, we talked about the versatility of Beck. We talked about a guy they drafted last year in Dulcich. Like, I don't have a guaranteed spot where you're going to have an impact on my team out the gate. I'm probably not bringing Sauber back. We got a lot of tight ends. And I'm not going to prioritize bringing back a bunch of these guys just to stack my roster with tight ends.
Fair enough. I don't know if I've ever heard of a team win the Super Bowl with 5 tight ends on their roster. So sorry, Eric, you got to go. From there, we're moving on to someone from the D-line, Deshaun Williams. Can't say I've heard of him before today. Talk to me about Deshaun Williams. What are your thoughts on him? What do you want to do with Deshaun?
He's he was a higher draft pick. I think he's a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick coming out. I don't know, which shows how much of an impact he's really had on this team. I mean, he's a D tackle. Look, our defense was solid. A lot better than I thought it was going to be last year with a bunch of the names that we had on there. But I don't know if I feel the need to bring him back. I'd rather see them test free agency, see what kind of guys they can get out there, because I think a guy like him or even someone slightly better than him is going to command the same paycheck. I'd rather have an option and who I throw in there than just bringing him back to bring him back. Again, I'm rebuilding this team from the idea that this culture has been so destroyed for so long that pretty much everybody on this team only knows what it's like to be a losing team, to practice at a losing level, to play at a losing level, to have a loser's mentality. So I'm not really inclined to bring back a bunch of mid-level dudes with that type of attitude. I'd rather go get somebody who's at the same level. It's either a fresh slate or has a different mentality behind them that I can bring in and kind of run with.
Nice. So I guess with that in mind, you might as well just let go of your best player in PS2, or let him go to Philadelphia or something like that. I don't know. Just I don't know. Your words, not mine. I'm not making things up here.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So moving on. I think this is an interesting name. We're talking about running back Latavius Murray here. I know that he was somebody that you guys brought in midway through the season. I know you have off camera expressed to me some concerns about Javonte Williams with that knee. So with that being said, you guys signed Latavius Murray. He didn't play too bad. Talk to me about Latavius Murray. What do you want to do with Latavius Murray?
I'm signing that guy back.
Yeah,
Like
I like it.
for me, it's maybe even a threefold reason I'm gonna sign Latavius Murray. I'm gonna bring him back again. Of this list so far, there haven't been a lot of guys that have been like, look, I'm actively calling this guy's agent and saying, look, let's sit down, let's work something out, let's figure out what it's gonna take. He's not going to demand a huge payday.
Nope.
He has experience in a Sean Payton offense. He played with him in New Orleans. I want to bring that back. We talked about culture, right? This guy has been on winning teams. He's been around the league for a long time. He's a true veteran, talent in the league. And I want that kind of a guy in my locker room. And I think my biggest reason that I want to bring him back is just this is a guy who is okay playing second fiddle. He's okay coming in when he needs to come in. He's okay playing that mentorship role. He's okay. Hey, if I get 5 carries a game, I'm gonna get 5 touches a game. Like, he is totally okay with doing what's asked of him. To me, that's super important when you want to build that culture in that team. Especially when I look at a guy they went out and decided to bring back for that quote unquote backup role last year, in Melvin Gordon, who only cared about being a star and couldn't hold on to the freaking ball. Murray is a solid back, and he's a guy that I can plug and play if I need him. And if I need him just hang out on the sideline, he's okay doing that and will still have a smile on his face. So to me, Latavius Murray is a key guy that I want to bring back.
Yeah. No, I got to push back on you a little bit there. You disrespected Melvin Gordon. That is Super Bowl champion Melvin Gordon. The guy had 0 touches, 0 snaps. I don't think he played a single snap during the whole playoff run. Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, it's because he wasn't suited up because he was sitting on a practice squad.
Put some respect on his name, Ben. All right, cool. From there, we are moving on to somebody that I actually like, Alex Singleton. He was a former Eagle. For those of you that don't know a whole lot about him, some background on him, he was actually in the Canadian Football League, and that's how the Eagles ended up acquiring him a couple of years ago. Don't want to steal too much of your shine, though. Ben, what are you doing with Alex Singleton?
Bringing him back too. Again,
nice.
Kind of the theme of my the theme of my off season, right? I want guys that come in, they work, and they got that culture that I want to see, right? They're just tough-nosed, come in and play, get the job done, and that's who he is. Look, I don't think he's special as far as an athletic talent, all right? Like, there are a ton of guys who are more athletic than him, which is why he ended up leaving the Eagles, is why he ended up, floating over to Denver for a fairly cheap deal on a 1 year last year, but this is a guy who just, you turn on the tape, you watch him play, you look at the game, and the dude just makes plays. He flies around, he makes plays, right? Is he going to be able to keep up with an elite tight end? No. Is he going to be the best? No, he's not the best at anything, but the dude works, he runs, he plays. He was like 5th in the NFL in tackles last year too. I mean, like, this is a guy I want to bring him back. I want him to be a piece that I can build around. I don't think I need to go out and spend a ton on a star middle linebacker. I'm not going to draft one with my first pick being in the 3rd round this year. So yeah, bring a dude back who's going to work, and I want to build around for sure.
No, I agree with that. I think Alex Singleton, he was very serviceable for us at the Eagles. Like you said, he's one of those guys. He's probably like a C+ player. But, I mean, the dude just works his tail off. He seems to be a good locker room guy. If you're looking to tear it down and bring up, a good leadership, good culture, I think he's a good culture guy. So
I'd even give him a B. I mean, like, again, I don't think he's an elite A, but the dude makes plays. I think he's a little underrated for the performance he actually puts on the field, because you just look at his intangibles and say, meh. But, yeah, I'll bring him back.
No, I'm happy with that. Cool. All right, from here, we're moving on to somebody. This is the first time I've ever seen this name. This is the first time I've ever tried to pronounce this name. We'll go with Draymond Jones. Talk to me about Your boy Draymond Jones.
Draymond
First off,
Jones.
did I pronounce it right?
You did, you did. Man,
Cool.
Draymond kills me because I would love to bring Draymond Jones back.
Okay.
But I don't know if he's coming back. I think I would sit down to the table with Draymond. I'd discuss it with Draymond. Um, I don't want to tag him because I think that bad blood would be created because of it, and I don't want to bring him in for a year on a tag and have him bounce again. Culture, right? That's what I'm focused on. I don't want to tag a guy having me pissed off in the locker room for an entire year, right? Um, Look, I don't think he was elite for a long time, but last year he looked really good. I think he's gonna test free agency. I'm gonna make this guy a contract for sure. I'm gonna offer it to him. I'm gonna try and bring him back. Um, I just don't know if we're going to win the money battle when it comes to keeping him around. And I'm not going to pay him $25 million a year. So if he gets offered a $20 million contract, I'm not bringing him back. But yeah, 15, 18 million a year, I'd probably be willing to pay him that to kind of shore up one of those end spots.
All right, fair enough. A little bit of disrespect on my end. Sorry there, Draymond. I've never heard of you, but Ben's out here clearly saying that you guys are at least you're a valuable guy, which
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
cool.
it's not a surprise. I mean, he was a solid rookie coming out. He just didn't. He was injured. He kind of putted around in the defense, backups, rotationals for a long time. But last year, he definitely really came on and showed a lot last year. So again, I don't think he is a elite defensive lineman, but he's definitely someone that I think commands good money and would be a solid piece of a line that I'd be willing to keep around.
Cool. Yeah, I know you guys had a very, very good unit on the defense. I don't think you had
Mm-hmm.
a ton of stars. You probably had one or two stars, but as a unit, everybody worked well. And Draymond was clearly one of those guys that you're a fan of. So cool. We're gonna try to bring him back. From there, we are moving on to Darius Phillips. Can't say I'm familiar with Darius Phillips, Ben. Do you fill me
Bye.
in? Bye bye. All right.
Bye. Yeah.
Short and simple. Bye bye. Why are we cutting Darius Phillips?
He's a backup nobody who doesn't add a lot to the team.
Yeah, doesn't do anything for you.
Nope, doesn't do anything for me.
All right, fair enough. Moving on. Sorry, Darius. From there, moving on to another running back. I liked this guy a couple of years ago. I think he had star potential a few years ago. He had some injuries that have kind of bitten him. And since then, Titans actually not Titans. The Colts have one of the top 5 running backs in the league, but Marlon Mack, like I said, he was really really good a couple of years ago. He's had some injury bugs kind of hit him a little bit, and he is currently a Denver Bronco. But what are you doing with Marlon Mack?
Look, they brought Marlon Mack in off a practice squad last year. We were dealing with all those injuries. Melvin Gordon couldn't hold on to a ball. I think it was just, hey, how many running backs can we bring in here that look like they might be able to hold on to a football? Javante's
Mm-hmm.
out. Melvin can't hold on to a football. We got to have some other people in here. We talked Mike Boone out injured. It was just kind of the story last year. So, bunch of these guys brought up practice squads of 1 year contracts. Look, he had a couple of big explosive plays last year. 2 of them. Major question marks for me when they signed him coming off the Achilles injury. Looks like he might have been healed from it a little bit. I'm gonna say awesome job showing that you got some fire back in you. It looks like that Achilles might not be tearing you up. Go get some money on the free agent market. I'm not bringing a guy like that back. I'm bringing back Latavius. We got Javante healing up. If I'm going to bring in a running back, it's not going to be Marlon Mack.
Fair enough, Marlon Mack. We wish you well, but go find your money elsewhere.
Might have
Apparently,
might have earned a contract last year with a couple of those
yeah,
big plays, showing that Achilles didn't stop him like a lot of people thought it might. So,
yeah, and he's not as old as some people might think that he is. He's only like
no.
26, 27 years
Yeah.
old, something like that. So, Marlon, go get your money if you can, man. All right, from there, moving on to the immortal, the legendary, the quarterback controversy in Brett Rippon. I know that Ben, you and I have talked about some things off camera a little bit, where some of your fans are oddly saying that Brett Rippon looked infinitely better than Russell Wilson did, which I think Brett Rippon looked fine, but certainly I think some of your fans were overblowing some of that. But what are we doing with Brett Rippon, and why are we doing things with Brett Rippon?
I think that's the word for him. He's fine. He's
Okay.
not a starter. He's a good backup. I don't know if he's great. I mean, he beat out Josh Johnson last year, and Josh Johnson been in the league for like 19 years and played with like 47 different teams. So, I mean, he beat out an experienced veteran. I don't know, man. I think great backup quarterbacks are important. I don't think there are necessarily a ton of those out there. Um, Average backup quarterbacks are a dime a dozen. I like Brett Rippon. He has some ties to some people in Denver. Um, it's not a priority for me. I think I can go out and get a backup quarterback out there. I might want to. Man, I like Brett. I just I don't, it's not like with the Eagles, Gardner Minshew, where you've seen him play a lot better. Like Rippon just hasn't done anything special. And part of it's the play with the Broncos quarterbacks has been so so bad for the last 8 years. I mean, like it wasn't even great Peyton's last year, but it's just been so bad that like he goes out there and throws for like 300 yards, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks against the Jets, and people are like, "Woo, Brett Rippon, he's great." Like, no, he's not great. He's just everything else has sucked. So, it's a long-winded answer. I'm probably not bringing Brett Rippon back. I'm probably going to test free agency and see what kind of backup options I can get out there. Look, Russ is the starter. It's not a, hey, do I need to bring in someone to compete? It's a backup, right? Like Russ typically has been healthy. I don't need to worry about a guy that I expect to start, just somebody that could start, and for $108 million cap hit, like Russ is the starter. Russ is the guy. For the good or the bad, they're not going to play anybody else over him. So, I'm not going to worry about bringing in. I got to go sign free agency, a backup for a year, and call it good. So,
Yep. Fair enough. Brett Rippon, good luck. I'm sure you'll probably find a job elsewhere, but unfortunately not with the Denver Broncos. Moving on, we have not North, not South, but just regular Dakota Allen. What are we doing with Dakota Allen? Who is he? I've never heard of him before. What are you doing with him?
I'm not bringing him back. I don't know who he is either. I don't even know what position he plays yet. I think he's on the defense.
Yeah, looking at the notes here, I am seeing he's a linebacker. He's 27.
You know what? He was brought in last year, the year before, when we were in this whole rotational swing with we don't really have linebackers. We got to find people to fill in, and he probably brought him in on like a couple of year deal, and he's no, I'm not bringing him back. He's not important. Look, I'm going to sign Singleton. Josie Jewell's still there. We're bringing the Smash Brothers back for another run at it. They're solid enough for what they are. I'm not worried about one of these other guys. Again, backup guys, I'm gonna fill it in. I'm not gonna worry about him out the gates. We'll go find backup linebackers another time.
Deuces Dakota. All right. So next we have someone else who I'm not familiar with. I'm hoping you can maybe fill me in on PJ Locke.
Yeah, he's an okay guy. Defensive player, defensive back. He's not special, and again, I think there are other guys, that we've brought in that are probably more important. Look, is a guy like him somebody you could bring back in as a, you know, special teams guy, deep level. He probably spent a lot more time on special teams, right? Special teams guy, maybe deeper down, you know, four string, safety or corner maybe. But again, I'm rebuilding this entire roster, so yeah, unfortunately for some of these guys that are in those third, fourth string spots, like I'm not re-signing you. We'll see once we get to full rebuild after free agency dust kind of settles. If you're still floating around out there and I need a special teams guy, maybe we bring some of these guys back. But I mean, that's what he is. He's a special teams guy who, might slot in at some point. That's not important enough for me to focus on bringing back when I got to rebuild an entire team's culture.
Fair enough. Cool. Hear that, DBs in Denver? You're not safe, especially UPS too. You're coming to Philly. It's fine. Ben doesn't like you. I promise you.
I mean, look, I think we already talked about Kareem Jackson. I mean, there's one other safety. I don't even think his name's on there. I mean, we'll see. He might be, but I mean, outside of that, I mean, our starting defensive core is locked up. Damari Mathis was corner drafted last year. He's the number 2. We signed a corner, a nickel corner who, like every nickel corner we have, is going to be healthy for like 10 games a year, and 6 games we're going to have nobody. PS2 is the top corner in the NFL, so he's not going anywhere. And Justin Simmons is, that top 3 safety. So, and we have the defensive backs. When we're looking at backups, like that's what they are. They're backups. I'm not gonna prioritize a lot of that. I want to rebuild guys that want to come in and fight for a job, not guys that have been a part of this locker room.
Fair enough. All right. Sticking with the DB room, I'm gonna need you to help me out with this one. We were talking about this a little bit off camera. This is only the second time I've ever pronounced this name, and by your smile and laugh, you know where I'm going. Essang Bassi?
Essang Bassi.
All right.
Again,
Essang Bassi. Clearly, I mean, based off the name alone, you have to bring this guy back. So
yeah,
I made the decision there. What are you doing with him?
He's like a PJ Lock, man. I mean, he's been an okay guy. He's probably played a lot more special teams than he's ever seen the field doing anything else. I mean, the only times he saw the field, you know, were preseason and injury related. He came in a couple of years ago. He's a late round pick. They tried to give him the option to be a starter, and he gets beat. He gets beat too much to be relied on as a legit corner. I can't bring a guy back like that. I think they've cut him and brought him back like 4 times. He's a practice squad guy. He's a depth piece. The same thing's gonna happen. I'm not gonna offer him a contract to probably make the practice squad before the end of next year at some point. But yeah, I'm not really worried about Essang.
Sorry, Essang. I love your name. Just based on your name alone, I'm bringing you back, but unfortunately, I'm not the GM. All right, cool. Moving on to Jonas Griffith. Talk to me about Jonas. What are we doing with Jonas?
Another guy like Dakota as a middle linebacker guy we brought in. I think he came over from the Rams. The idea was bring him in, a little bit of veteran presence, can kind of shore it up. I'm not worried about it. He's a backup middle linebacker. He's not going to be a starter over Josie Jewell or Alex Singleton. He's had some injury issues, which is why when we brought him in, he didn't instantly fall into that spot. He's just not special enough to be a guy I'm going to worry about bringing back. You're a backup piece from a bad team.
Fair enough. Sorry, Jonas, but you're gone. From there, we're moving on to Jonathan Kongbo. Is that his name? Jonathan Kongbo?
Kongbo. Not going to be on the team.
You even know who he is?
I feel like he's an offensive lineman.
No, defensive line.
Jonathan, no, I don't know. Nope, not on the team anymore. Again, I'm not worried about you. I want to put key pieces on the team. DJ Jones is there. If we're going to focus on trying to bring back Draymond to replace him, nope.
All right. Sorry, Jonathan. From there, we're moving on to Corliss Waitman.
Corliss Waitman, a punter.
Yeah.
Man, I'm not bringing Corliss back. I mean, we have punted a lot. Okay, like
so you've seen enough
a lot of times. So like either you are the number 1 punter in the league, or I don't need to bring you back. Is how I look at it. So, I've seen too many times where he didn't do what I needed him to do. And when you punt as much as Denver has been punting, I need to know I can rely on that punter. And as sad as it is that I'm spending this much time talking about a fucking punter.
Hey man, this is what the life of the Broncos has turned into, man.
I don't think he's a great punter. And to me, you can draft a guy in the 9th round or pick up a free agent college punter to kick the ball. I mean, I'd rather bring in 4 dudes off the street so you can kick a ball than worry about re-signing a punter.
Hey, I like the fact that you're now adding in 2 extra rounds for the 9th round to draft a punter. I'm all about it.
Exactly.
All right, cool. From there, we're moving on to
where they deserve to be drafted.
The 9th round.
Yeah.
That means the past. So 8th round would be the first round of free agency. 9th round is the second round of free agency. So that's where your punters are getting signed. So.
Yes.
Fair enough. Sorry, punters. All right. Moving on.
Don't apologize to them.
Look, man. I have nothing wrong with punters. Pat McAfee is hella entertaining. So
yes, there are like 3 punters who deserve to be paid and are cool, and then everybody else can go away.
so therefore, I don't want to disrespect all punters because, in the words of Pat McAfee, we're doing it for the brand. All right. So Pat McAfee, please don't sue me. I promise you, I don't have enough money for you to come after me. All right, moving on to our final person related to the punter. We're on to your long snapper. Talk to me about Jacob. This is the first time I've pronounced this last name. Bobbin Moyer. Is that?
That's pretty. Yeah, I think that's it.
Oh, Jacob Bobbin Moyer. What are we doing with Jacob?
I'd probably bring Jacob back. I just like he's a long snapper. He's gonna be cheap as crap. I can bring him back on a 1 year deal. We'll have the same discussion again next year. He's a good enough long snapper. I think long snapping is, uh, more important than people realize, and it's harder
That's
than
true.
some people realize to have a good long snapper. I mean, somebody who can not only put a ball back, 15 yards, but then also, block
Back.
people, is is I think important. It's funny because this guy is he was the worst rated player in all of Madden. And I remember when I saw him last year, I didn't even realize that the created ratings that low. I think he was like a 30, which
Wow.
is apparently a thing. Yeah, I bring him back. He's a long snapper. I think they're important. Like I'd rather have a great long snapper than worry about bringing back the punter. Get the ball to a guy, he can kick it. I'm more says it. I might be more concerned with my long snapper than my punter.
Yeah, that's not good. Hey man, he's relatively young. Looking at some stats here, it looks like he's only 26 this year, so
Yeah,
relatively young at least. Fun fact, I know you just said that this guy was the lowest rated player in Madden. For a little while, the Eagles long snapper was the lowest rated player
yeah.
in the game. Rick Lovato, he was like a 42 or something like that at one point. So it's crazy that we're now talking about people in the 30s.
I mean, that's I mean, because it's all he does. Like he
Yeah.
literally does nothing else on the
Oh yeah.
team
That's
but
all
snap
Rick
the
Lovato
ball. So
does.
I mean, like when Madden rates him, they're like, this guy snaps the ball, so then we're going to give him
Yeah.
that rating. So
Yep. They're like,
he's
cool. We'll give him 70 strength. We'll give him 38 awareness. We'll give him 46 speed, and everything else is a one.
yeah. Like I mean, he wasn't good enough to be a starter at anything else, but he snapped the ball really well. So that's why he has a
Yeah.
job in the NFL. So props for
Yep.
him. I'll give you whatever the minimum is, and you'll take it and be happy.
There you go, Jacob. You're taking 500 grand next year to play for the losing Denver Broncos. I hope you're proud of your life decisions, man. All right, cool. So that is all of the 24 players that are free agents for the Denver Broncos. It sounds like we're cutting a lot, moving on from a lot of dead weight in an attempt to try to revitalize the culture, try to bring in a winning franchise. Some of that's going to be done with the new hiring of the head coach. We're going to see if we can't turn around Russell Wilson. Rumors are that Mike wants Pat Surtain the second. I don't know where those rumors are coming from. Don't know how true they are, but hopefully you guys will let him go just for my sake. I would love it. But back onto a little bit more of a serious note, we're going to now talk about some of that twist ending you threw it to me last time. Unfortunately, you're a little bit more prepared for this than I am. I know you said you haven't thought about this a whole heck of a lot, but in an ideal world for free agents where there is no cap space, you don't have to worry about, and you can bring in whoever you'd like. Who is Ben Payton bringing in for the Denver Broncos? Give me your top three names and why you'd want them.
Yeah, so I think these are all realistic names that they could go out and target. I think two of them are probably a legit possibility to be actually wearing orange next year. The last one, maybe not, but I would love to see it. So for me, the first one, and this should be no surprise after the conversation that we just had with all of my cuts. Like I said, I'm cutting a lot of dead weight. I'm getting rid of culture guys. But I also cut a bunch of right tackles. So for me, Juwan Taylor is my first prime target. I want a right tackle that I can lock in for the next 3, 5 years and just say, boom, here's a right tackle. I trust him to go out there and get the job done. Am I going to overpay a little bit? Yeah, probably. But I'd rather lock up that right tackle spot that has basically been a revolving door on the Broncos offensive line for the last, I don't know, decade. So, I want to rebuild this offensive line. To me, it has to be a prime focus. You look at the greatest teams in the league; they all have great offensive lines. Like you don't win unless you win in the trenches. I get a guy like Russ. I need to have an offensive line in place so that I can install a running game so I can get stuff done. To me, that's where I'm going at right tackle. So lock up that right tackle spot.
Okay. Interesting there. What's the second name we're going after?
Yeah. This is a two-part. I mean, there's two names I kind of thought about. They've both been mentioned as tied to the Broncos. There's one that I like more than the other. So if I had my pick of these two names, um, it's a running back.
Is it Derrick
I
Henry?
It is not Derrick Henry. Now, look, I love Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
love Javonte Williams. I
Yeah.
think that minus that injury, he
Yep.
is a top 10 back in this NFL. I mean, the dude is the definition of a wrecking ball. You can't tackle the guy. And he just runs. But that was a massive, massive knee injury. And even if he starts the year, which is a maybe, I see no way that this dude is the same dude coming back. I just don't. And whether Russ is the guy or not, this team has to be run first if we want to win. If you're going to fix Russ, you have to be run first, just like they were in Seattle. We're going to have to run the ball. I love Latavius Murray as a backup option rotational guy, but I need a guy that I can trust to come in and carry a full workload that if Javante's not the guy, is, but even if he is, can work in that timeshare if that ends up being what it is. So even if it's only a 2 or 3 year deal, enough time to figure out if Javante's healthy or not. And, maybe it's a 2 year deal. I'm going to go after Kareem Hunt.
Okay. Kareem Hunt's a good name.
First of all, I want 2 Kareems on this team. We can
Kareem
have
Jackson, Kareem Hunt.
Kareem the Dream on both sides. Look, I loved Kareem coming out. He was on my fantasy team. We were called Kareem the Dream. We won a title together. He was an idiot and got himself kicked off the Chiefs, but he has been regretting that his entire existence since then. But look, he wants to be a guy who's going to get more workload. That's what he's probably going to be able to get in Denver. He can be the one piece if Javonte is not healthy, which, like I said, I don't think he's going to be. He's a guy who can catch the ball. He can run the ball. I mean, he's a very good back. He's also getting a little bit up there in age, but I think he's got enough wear left on the tires just because he's been splitting with Nick Chubb the last few years that I could bring him in on a 2 year deal, make sure Javonte is good to rock and roll, and trust that if I have to give 20 carries to Kareem Hunt, I'm getting a top end running back to do that with. So I'm going to go after a Kareem Hunt. Again, I'm not going after a guy like Derrick Henry because I want to see if Javonte has it, but a guy like Kareem can do it whether he's got a split or get it done. So Kareem. The other name was Montgomery, who's been tied to the Broncos. I like him, but I don't like him as much as I like a guy like Kareem's ability overall. So Kareem would be my guy that I'd go after.
Nice. Quick side tangent, because I know neither of us are exactly Chiefs fans, and this isn't exactly a Chiefs segment. Man, how good would those Chiefs teams be if Kareem Hunt didn't do what he did? Because I mean, he's clearly much better than
everyone on that team. Yes.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire was supposed to be, and he's clearly, as much as I like Pacheco, he's clearly better than Pacheco. How good would those Chiefs teams be if Kareem Hunt didn't do all that?
I hate the Chiefs.
So,
they'd be really, really good. Better than they are, which is hard to imagine.
Yep. All right, cool. Side tangent over. Who's the last name that we're picking up?
All right, I want to see if you could get this. It was funny because when I was like, hey, I want to do this, like, right tackle and halfback, like they've been talked about for Denver side. They were like kind of, but the first name that popped in my head that was like, oh, I saw this name. This guy I got to get on this team. Let's see if you can guess it. For some really weird, odd reason, I personally have some bro crush, however you want to do it, on this dude. And
is it me? You want to bring me on? Oh, that's so sweet of you.
Defensive player. All right.
Okay.
He's going to play as a rusher. All right. Because I just don't know. We let Chubb walk. Gregory cannot stay healthy. Right. He's great when he's on the field, but that's going to be for like 5 games a year. We need an edge rusher. Yep. So this is an edge rusher. I have a deep-seated place in my heart for this guy because I hated playing against him in Madden when he whooped me all the time.
Oh, my goodness. So for those of you that don't know, Ben and I would play Madden franchise modes, and I mean, oftentimes we were just trying to run up the score or whatever, but during the beginning phases of the create your own teams where we would do fantasy drafting, you're starting from scratch, you're drafting everybody all over, right? So we would struggle a little bit at the beginning because, it's Madden. So we were probably fantasizing a little bit more about some of these star wide receivers, star running backs, star quarterbacks. And we were kind of letting our O-line deteriorate a little bit. And Ben gave up in the game a NFL record of, I believe it was either 7 or 8 sacks.
It was 8. It
was 8 sacks to one Mr. Yannick Ngakoue.
Yes.
And Ben had never heard of him before. At the time, he was with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was a up and coming player who has since had some ups and downs. He's a solid player, but that is who Mr. Ben Bach is referring to. Why he has the crush on him. From there, Ben, go ahead, take it away. Why do you want to bring
Yeah,
your man?
I don't have a reason for why,
No
right?
reason?
Like maybe it's happy nightmares of just watching him wreck my team over and over again to 8 sacks, and then proceeding that every year after that, no matter we restarted another year. Yannick was the guy who I just that's the guy. So Yannick is he's a free agent coming out of the Colts this year. He's bounced around a little bit. I get it. I think he spent some time with the Raiders, some time with the Colts. He never was the guy that he was that last year he was in Jacksonville. But I mean, look, he's a really solid edge rusher. He's typically healthy. And that's what I want. I want a solid edge rusher, right? I want a guy that I can just put up there. We have some young guys, Brandon Browning guys that could be good. We're developing some of that, but I want a guy I can just stick on that edge and just trust that, as a solid guy, he's going to go and get it done. Plus, I just want to be able to go unique when I'm watching games and know that he's on my team for a change. So, yeah,
Yannick is
get,
unique.
get me some
So
Yannick Ngakoue over here in the orange.
fair enough. All right. Cool. Well, those are the 24 free agents for the Broncos, along with 3 names that you would like to see the Broncos bring in. Some of it is a little bit more fun than plausible, but hey, that's what the show is all about. We're just having fun. Cool. So, any final thoughts? How do you want to wrap this up?
No, I mean, look, I'm going to cut most of the Broncos. I mean, 24, it's almost half a roster, right? I'm cutting everybody. I'm gonna save the key pieces on this roster. Which, if you told me, hey, get a pen and paper and write down every name that you'd want to bring back from last year, like it really is about as bad as it looked when I gave you my cuts. Because I'd probably only bring back like 7 or 8 people. I'd rather see them go out there and rebuild, even if they're similar type people, and just rebuild this team. We got to rebuild. We don't have a lot of picks to do it, but it's going to start with culture pieces and just rebuilding. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this kind of goes. For everything I've seen, that's probably about how a lot of this is going to go. And we'll see what free agency holds for everybody, and see where some of these guys goes. And I'm sure in the couple of weeks we're going to be talking about how great some signings were, how stupid some other signings were, and it'll be a good time. But yeah, thanks for joining us tonight, guys, and we'll see you next time.